Next to the stage, and the last speaker of today is a dear friend now. We met a year ago in Ottawa, and we have had conversations on many occasions since. It is Andy Lewandowski. He is the Digital Experience Advisor to the Federal Chief Information Officer at the at the Budget Executive Office of the President of Washington. So I found the acronym I lacked earlier. Please welcome him to the stage. He is also going to be answering a few questions at the end of his talk. So show them that us Icelanders can also ask questions. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Disa, for that warm introduction, and thank you to Andri, and where did he go? He's here. I know he's here. Einar and the rest of the Digital Iceland team for inviting the United States to be here with you today. I'm going to keep these remarks brief. Thank you for sticking with us into the late afternoon. So the United States Chief Information Officer, Claire Martirana, spoke earlier today about human-centered policymaking and how our office has been working really hard to codify essentially the last 10 to 15 years of civic tech and social impact, design, development, and agile delivery in government into policies to meet the moment and to give the federal enterprise of such scale in the United States what teams need to deliver to the public. So Claire mentioned this earlier. This is our vision. This is the vision for the public experience, also called the customer experience, also the digital experience. This is what we expect, this is what the public expects us in government to be able to deliver to them. It's simple, seamless, and secure. I think I feel a great kinship with the Icelanders because your North Star vision is to simplify people's lives. And we have also led with simple in our vision. We've added seamless to account for the scale of the United States and the fact that our government is federated. So a lot of large agencies that operate with quite a bit of independence. And then of course, secure. The public expects information that the government collects to be safeguarded. They expect their privacy to be protected. They expect digital services to use leading security practices. So simple, seamless, and secure is the vision. What I'd like to do is walk you through what it looks like today to interact with the federal government of the United States of America. So I'm going to use the example of Social Security. In our country, Social Security offers a handful of benefits. We offer disability support for those who cannot work during their adult lives, but most Americans won't experience going through the customer experience of Social Security until they're age 66 or higher. So this is a benefit that you get near the later years of your life after working. And I'm going to show you what it looks like for each channel. So the first is online. I call search engines step 0 in the user flow to government information and services online. A lot of user experience designers I've worked with forget how we acquire our users and our audience. And generally, it's outside of government. So this is what it looks like when you Google, how do I apply for Social Security? This is what the website looks like. I'm very proud to say that the team at Social Security redesigned and relaunched this website, and they went from tens of thousands of individual web pages to just a few hundred. So we are really simplifying the content and the language, and I think it looks pretty good. We've got great customer feedback from users on this site. And as you'll notice, the research showed that there are 2 phases to the journey of going through getting Social Security. The preparation phase and planning with eligibility checks and financial planning with other areas of your life, and then actually applying for the Social Security benefit. This is what an email looks like. It's just plain text. It's not clear to users that this is coming from the federal government of the United States of America. This is where people go to complain. It's also where they go to find the phone number because search results and the algorithms can be quite complex and they can know exactly where you are and they can hide the phone number in an accordion and collapse it. Or in some cases, agencies, just like companies, hide the contact information because providing agent support for tier 3 or tier 4 customer issues is quite expensive. So they'd rather have you go down a self-service path. So social media is important. Even though we don't run the product or the platform, we do engage with the public here. This is one of 1,200 Social Security field offices across the 50 states. They kind of look like the Department of Motor Vehicles, which is run by each of the 50 states. We're working hard to improve this experience and use technology to help the public schedule appointments online, for example, so that they don't have to wait in line or show up first thing in the morning. This is what the form looks like today, the paper form, to actually apply for Social Security benefits. It's not great. This is what a letter looks like, so very official. The barcodes on the side for probably internal tracking. This is what a brochure looks like for how to apply for Social Security. Claire had mentioned earlier this morning, Federal CIO Claire Martirana, Social Security is kind of bundled with our healthcare program, Medicare, for folks over the age of 65. And then when you run out of all options, you call the call center, which is really, really expensive to operate, really complex. But this is what it looks like today to experience going through the Social Security customer journey in the United States. So that's what the public gets today. Now I want to show you what the public expects. And all of these examples are American examples, but I think you might have some of these apps or products or services, and if not, then you definitely have an analog version for your home country. So this is Disneyland, the theme park. Just a few years ago, you had to buy your tickets by waiting in line outside with your friends and family. And now you buy your tickets in advance, and Disney has implemented surge pricing. So based on demand, they increase the price of the ticket. And think what that does on the business side, the impact you can control for labor costs, food and drink supply, how many people are we expecting in the theme parks today. It also ensures that your customers show up when they said they're going to show up because of the communications and notifications campaigns that are built into purchasing your tickets online. E-commerce. The public in the United States of America buys a lot of stuff. They buy a lot of stuff online. And most of the leading consumer product companies and brands now have multi-channel options, and it tells you what's in stock. It tells you if you can check it out in the store, and it even tells you which aisle you can see the product in person at the store. You can also order online. You can ship it. So a lot of transparency built into the user interface of this. The next is order status. This is Uber. Uber in the United States is not just on-demand taxi service. They also deliver food to your front door, which is primarily how I use it personally. But again, the public is expecting a really high level of transparency in interacting with these products and services. Uber tells you exactly where your driver is, the color of the car, the license plate, so you can verify and feel that there's trust that this is the right car, and the first name of your driver who's going to deliver the food to you. Next is Apple. So I think this is the true global example. This is trying to get your battery repaired. So Apple sends you down a self-service customer flow. They want you to use online options. And what I love about this is they are basically highlighting that if you mail it in, the burden on the customer is really high. Like you're gonna have to package it up, and you're gonna have to wait 5 to 9 days to hear a response back. So obviously they're nudging you through the UI design to push you into the chat, which is only a 2-minute wait. Okay, so that's what the public expects. The culture has changed, society has changed. We depend on our mobile applications and self-service digital tools all the time. So now I want to talk about what the public deserve. What do they deserve from their government? They deserve a simple, seamless, and secure experience, and that experience should be digital first, okay? It's not digital only. In the United States, as Federal CIO Martirana mentioned, we have laws around accessibility so that we provide accommodations to people of all abilities. So this is a digital first experience that is simple, seamless, and secure across channels. So digital first, but multi-channel. I'm not arguing for a chatbot, so please, for the journalists in the room, don't write any headlines that we have made any promises, but this is what the public expects to see, something that's so simple and gives you the steps in order of what you need to do, and it builds in transparency into the process, okay? So this is the multi-channel experience. This slide basically captures all of those examples I gave for a customer walking through the customer journey of Social Security. So we know, based on metrics today, that the majority of our users for online .gov websites come in through search, increasingly voice search, which is challenging our content design teams to not just design content that's search engine optimized for the web, but also content that is conversational. So that sounds like a person is actually speaking out loud to you in a more natural way. Okay, so how are we going to deliver this vision to the American public? Claire earlier today went over the policy framework, which is this human-centered design policy framework that our office and this administration has really focused on. This is what's going to happen next. So our Office of the Federal Chief Information Officer will be releasing guidance soon to our 430 federal agencies, and that guidance will include more than 100 agency actions and standards, and really provide this policy framework or roadmap for how to actually execute on this digital-first vision that's simple, seamless, and secure. As part of our work in the White House, we've identified these pillars that are government-wide. So how are agencies going to actually get to simple, seamless, and secure if they're operating independently without coordination? So as Federal CIO Martirana mentioned in her talk this morning with Nordic ministers, and then in her keynote address this afternoon, you can't manage what you can't measure. So we are going to be measuring as much as we can, and metrics are going to be guiding a lot of the business decision making because it's going to provide intelligence on what is and isn't working for the public in online channels. Everything has to be accessible to people of all abilities. Brand matters. We need to verify visually to the public when they're interacting with official government information and services versus fraudulent actors. Design, we have our US web design system, which is continuing to mature. Search, not only do we have to make sure that everything is optimized for users coming in from external search engines, but also searching for information and services on government websites has to be a great experience. Content, everything needs to be written in plain language, in simple terms. We need to provide translations to communities who need it, or provide localized translations for subgroups or sub-audiences. And then the last is just digitization. As the federal CIO mentioned in her keynote, only 2% of government forms in the United States at the federal level have been digitized. And that means collecting the information in a digital format at the very beginning and keeping it in a structured format all the way through adjudication and then granting the applicant the benefit, okay? Another interesting thing that we have done is rather than just provide the policy guidance, we have mapped everything to the outcomes that we want to see happen across our 430 agencies, which we're really, really excited about. So that's the bottom row in blue. So this is it. So this is the digital-first customer experience. It's multi-channel, but it's simple, seamless, and secure. And we're going to do that through this forthcoming policy guidance, which is going to provide the framework. We're going to focus on these key pillars of government-wide actions that every single federal agency has to take in order to get to building this vision and delivering it to the public. We all work hard jobs, not just in the White House, but across the world in serving the public, in the public sector and social impact sector. I remind our team all the time who we are. We're the United States of America. We do hard things, and we will deliver. So thank you.
I think it's best that I do this down here so I can run with the questions. But Andy, there are a couple of questions while everybody's thinking, and I'm stepping out here to challenge you guys. There are a couple of things that I find very interesting. I would like to know. What is next for you when you get back to the US?
What's next? We got to get our guidance out. It needs to be published, which we hope will come out soon. And what we're going to be asking agencies to do is look at all of their web analytics. So we really can't make strategic business decisions on where to recruit hire top tech talent, where to invest money in IT spend, unless we know what the users need, what's working, what's not working. So all of the agencies who provide the top public services will be spending 6 months, the first 6 months after guidance is released, taking a look at all their analytics and putting the pieces together and prioritizing the highest impact areas or digital products and services for improvement.
Thank you. Do I have a question, or should I go straight, Einar?
Thank you, Andy. No little challenge you have in front of you.
Yes.
So one of the things that I suppose most governments are dealing with is it's both the legacy, kind of the legacy systems of how you update it, but it's also it's a people issue, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Have you made any assessment of, if you would put it into percentages, is it half and half, technology versus people, or is it more people than technology, or the other way around?
Oh, I would say most of our problems are people problems. I don't know if I could estimate a percentage, but especially when it comes to legacy systems, there are people who've been doing the same job for many years, in some cases decades, and to come in and ask them to upskill or reskill themselves or change how they've been doing their job overnight, I think we have learned can be unrealistic. So something that has worked for us is maintain the legacy systems, right, and the teams that maintain those as from a risk management posture, but then build the next version of the thing, right, and coordinate the systems, and then eventually, like the new thing, which includes the new talent, new tech stack, slowly takes over. So it's kind of like, you know, the two circles in the Venn diagram. There has to be an overlap for many years, but eventually the new should take over.
Same everywhere. It's people, not tech.
Yes.
I have a question. See how good we're doing? We can do it.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Andy, for your presentation. I'm Karen. Probably would translate to Digital Reykjavik, something like that, service and innovation. I have a question about, because we have heard a lot today, trust in government, to increase trust in government, you know, whether it's local or national or international. One of the outcomes of your digital experiences is the simpleness. Mm-hmm. And you are referring to the increased brand recognition and trust in government. Can you explain that a little bit? What's
Sure.
behind that?
Sure. I'll start by saying there are many factors that contribute to what informs trust in government. It could be local elections and laws. It could be things that are completely outside the control of the federal government in a country as large as ours, where we have state and local municipalities as well. In the digital space, the reason that we're focused on brands with this vision is we have learned over the last decade of customer research and user research with digital products and services that the public actually likes those round seals that most United States agencies have, because it's very formal and traditional, and it's a recognition that this is an official letter from the government or an official service from the government. So we know that, but in this more modern digital age where we are experiencing information overload, what we're missing in government, and I would argue at all levels, is like a consistent way to verify that the website or the piece of information or the search result on a search engine is actually coming from the government, from the service provider who's providing the service, and not from fraudulent actors, or in some cases, companies that make money off of selling the same information and service to you. So we have a lot to explore with brand. It's not just the visual agency seal or, you know, the American flag, right? That's a brand marker for the country. It's more than that. We think it's our hypothesis is that it's verification. You know who you're interacting with in all of the channels, primarily digital, and we hope to increase that trust over time as the public gets more comfortable interacting with government online.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions from the Nordics and Baltics, so this is turning into a competition.
Hello, Andy. Thank you for presentation. Gatis from Riga, Latvia. I really like your last slide. You mentioned it. We have to deliver, or we will deliver. But to deliver, you must make things happen. And sometimes, or in most of cases, it's not enough that you have a bunch of bright minds in the center of government who can think out how the government should run and how proactive services should be delivered. And it comes then after how to implement government-wide. You can go the regulation way, but in our experience, it's not enough with regulation just only. You have to build some community. And maybe you can share what's your experience on this kind of recipe for implementing across the government, and what's the part of those substances or proportion of the importance of regulation and the importance of all the other soft activities you are doing, and what are they and how you are managing this?
Okay, that was a big question. Let me start with this, which is what we have learned has worked well. The government in the United States is very large. Some of our largest agencies, like the Department of Veterans Affairs, has 400,000 employees, plus hundreds of thousands of contractors and consultants. So policy and law and regulation only go so far. What we have found in the digital space is appointing a chief technology officer or head of public service digital delivery as a carve-out with executive support from the highest levels of the agency. That's magic, because that gives digital teams the support that they need to actually use the policy and the laws to deliver on their vision. So of course, we can't control all of this and what happens at the level that we're at, but providing that support and making sure that there is accountable leadership and leadership with buy-in, I think is probably one of the most critical things structurally that we need. Of course, there's money. We have to recruit and hire the right talent. There's acquisitions of technology solutions, right, from the vendor community and private industry. It's really complex, but I always start with people and tools. We still have some government agencies, especially smaller agencies, that are exclusively operated by using paper. And just a few, tools on the web. But that's not how digital services are built or maintained, with continuous monitoring and CI/CD pipelines and usability testing and shipping code on a daily basis. So getting that right executive support, I think, is critical for taking the next step. And that's something that our office does when we release guidance. Generally speaking, we request that agencies choose one accountable senior official to lead the implementation of the guidance.
Thank you. I just want to mention, don't be alarmed, but our friends that are in the other auditorium will be joining us in a few minutes for the final thing that we're going to do today, that is celebrating the agencies, our co-workers. But do you have a question?
Yes, Christine from Norway. I was wondering, one of the reasons that we in the Nordics and Baltics can do a lot of what we do is that we have central population registers. And we saw earlier you have 430 agencies and the way that you do services. How do you have a way of sort of identifying people across services and sectors and in order to deliver the type of life event services that we've discussed here earlier?
Yes. We have communities of practice in the digital service design and delivery space. So content designers who are actually designing and publishing, right, plain language, search engine optimized content on government websites across our top agencies. They have formed a community of practice, and they support each other, and they share best practices, and they coordinate. At a higher level, we have a lot of governance bodies in the United States because of the scale. So representatives from different C-suite roles, so chief financial officer, chief information officers, they're part of councils, and so they do coordinate at the highest levels of government on policy priorities.
Thank you. I have a final question. I see people are coming in. Wouldn't it be great if we had AI because it's going to be Icelandic in the end, so everybody could understand? But we can talk jokes about our friends in Icelandic in a few.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy. I just wanted to have a quick question about, because what we're all talking about here, because you just previously said that it's not technology, it's it's people, and we totally agree on that. So it ultimately means that we're talking about culture. We're changing culture. You have to reach out to people, and most importantly, you have to reach out to top executives within the government, because they're going to be needed for implementing that change. In a prior session where you were talking about having training material for those leaders, but as we know, there's more needed. So the question is, what are you doing to change the culture, or to reach out to the silent leaders that are not actively looking into IT as a tool?
Sure. I think recruiting great leaders from outside of government who have vision and the executive skills to change the culture within senior ranks is probably the fastest and easiest thing to do. In the federal government in the United States, the president, when there's a change in administration, gets to appoint many hundreds of officials who serve as senior leaders, and those officials bring career experience into the role. So that's at the executive level. From a human resources standpoint, we are starting to experiment in the federal government with mandatory trainings on things that the workforce, right, the frontline staff, need to know in order to keep pace with what's happening in society and with technology. One example is with artificial intelligence. So how can we have a conversation as an enterprise, or how can an agency's general counsel team even interpret policy guidance around artificial intelligence if they're not conversant in the vocabulary or the lexicon? So we're starting to do that as well. And then I think another, and this may be a cop-out, a third answer, but we rely a lot on contractors and consultants. And all of those companies have their own cultures and professional development programs and their own ways of making sure that the culture is people-centered, it's delivery-centered, et cetera. So in our kind of modern digital delivery space, we have some small and mid-sized companies that are fairly young and they attract top talent. And just dropping those young people in their 20s and 30s into the federal government, into these agencies, can have a tremendous impact. And that's kind of bottom up. So it can be top down, right? But it can also be bottom up. But it's people. You've got to have the right people, right leadership with vision and the buy-in, and make people see themselves in the work, the day-to-day work of delivering to the public. Okay, I think that was the last one.
That was the last question, but I have the last question. Sorry,
boy.
Before I say thank you, what's it like working at the White House?
Oh boy, it's very demanding. It is the privilege of a lifetime, honor and privilege of a lifetime, to be able to serve the president and to work in the White House. It's pretty surreal. Federal CIO Martirana's office behind her is the West Wing. So we often see the people that you all see on TV walking down the street. But it's hard work, and I'm constantly inspired by all of my colleagues. The White House does attract the best and the brightest, and has for a long time. So yeah. Is that a good answer?
That's a great answer.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you all very much.